We're Batman at 89. Hello and welcome to Bat Minute 89, the show where we pull random levers and twirl every valve in sight 1 minute at a time. And we also talk about Tim Burton's Batman a little bit. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And I am the other twirler, Niall McGowan.
Yes, and we are joined today by, what should we call you? Bat Superfan? Would that do?
Good enough for me.
Yes, Bat Superfan, Dan Kampling.
That's correct. Yeah. You said, instead of Kampling or campeting or something. Yeah, you got it just right. Good job. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. And the minute, this is minute 25. This begins with a violent shootout, and it ends with a violent shootout. Tense stuff.
That's pretty much the whole week. It's just
This is the reason why I signed on. I love a good gunfight.
Oh yeah, you specifically asked for these minutes, so
that's right. Yeah, the whole Axis Chemicals setup. Yeah, this is really my number one favorite scene out of the whole movie.
Oh, I think I should say it before we get in, because I love this scene. I love the whole film. But as we go through this week, I love it in terms of the energy and the atmosphere and the way it's shot and the lighting and all that, because it's really exciting. But there's some quibbles I have as well of just wait, what happened here? And I got some beef, not severe beef, but some beef. So,
and I'll be glad to hear it, because with this movie, it's just one of those things where it's you either hear people like both of yourselves, where it's just absolutely love the movie, and then there's other people that's oh, I don't like the movie, and I don't take any personal offense when they say it. I'm just oh, well, open up the floor. What don't like about it? And then they tell me, and I'm oh, okay. I still like it, but
yeah, you can let them off a little bit, maybe. Yeah. So we'll get stuck into the minute. We are back in the chemical plant that we were in last week, in the midst of the gun battle between the cops and the crooks.
I guess we get our first shot here is Bob going to town. Just stepping up again. Always stepping up, this guy. Bob, just he's loyal to Jack Napier to a fault. Getting stuff done. So
yeah, he's saving the bullets for later, because Jack only has 6 and he's got his automatic there, so he's a good friend to back him up with that.
See, I like your interpretation, because my next thing is just that Jack Napier, everyone else is standing the fight, he is just out of there, just not even standing his ground. No, I'm out. Let's screw the rest of you. I am Audi 5000. I just don't care. I want out.
Well, you kind of notice they don't really show Nicholson's face, so that's probably a cover up to okay, the stand-in's going to come in, because when you look at it, when the character's supposed to be Jack, he's really bolting it, just getting out of there.
Oh yeah,
it's just Nicholson's I'm not making it up those stairs. No. Are you crazy?
Well, plus that ties in, of course, to what we know about his contract and the specific hours he insisted on working. So they probably wanted to maximize the close-ups, didn't they? We're not just gonna, if it's a back shot, just get anyone to do it. It's fine.
It also ties in kind of to what we know about, particularly noticeable when we're going through it minute by minute. But just what we've noticed about Jack Napier's character so far is that he's, when he's the Joker, he's fearless, and he'll do he's just crazy. The guy's crazy. He'll do anything. But when he's Napier, he's very narcissistic, self-absorbed, and he's a bit of a coward. He's I remember when he shoves Eckhart up against the wall, and then Eckhart takes out the gun. Jack's face is a brief moment of oh God, what have I done? And it's only when Bob again comes in to save him that he's and then even yeah, exactly. And then trying to weasel his way out of even having to come here. To be fair, he did step up and he did come down to the chemical plant, but he was I don't want to go in there, the fumes, and he suspects something's up already, probably.
Oh, I don't blame him, though. I mean, you're blaming him for running away. What's wrong with that? He's outnumbered. He's outgunned.
Yeah, it's just more the fact that the rest of them were some of these other hoods, as we see throughout these minutes, they're kind of having a great time, just shooting cops and just going around the place. But he's just no, he's out. So
it's you've been ratted out here, boys. You take care of it.
Basically, yeah, that's what every good boss does, surely.
Yeah.
But then the next shot, then we actually have perhaps for definitely the only time in this film, and perhaps for the only time in the first 4 films, Commissioner Gordon kind of looking like a badass, like storming in.
He looks amazing.
Yeah.
He looks so cool.
Yeah, those doors come up and he just strides right in like, okay, guys.
I was just going to say it's his coolest moment, basically, until he becomes Gary Oldman. He doesn't do anything else in any of the films, as you said. This is it. This is his one shot.
Yeah. And it, like, he does come in, he storms over, and we have the questionable behavior from Eckhart, which was not questionable because it's Eckhart, because he comes over and then, you know, Gordon's like, oh, well, what's going on here? And Eckhart,
what the hell's
he
going
has
on?
his,
Just speak directly into the loudspeaker to let him know you're here. Is that okay?
But and Eckhart has that brief moment of like, what are you trying to do? Blood in the collar, huh? With this really severe, huh?
Yeah.
But,
Christ. Yeah, he goes, Christ.
But it's one of those things. Like, we know Eckhart's a dirty cop, but like even at that, there's not a kind of inkling in him that's like, this guy's my superior. I should probably be a bit more respectful. But it's really just like, oh, you, like, I got to deal with you now as well.
Well, that actually raises a question for me. Maybe I'm just being stupid and forgetting something, but does Eckhart know that he has been rumbled, so to speak? Does he know that Gordon knows that he's working with the crooks?
I would say, if I had to guess, I'd say I think it's probably well known throughout the department, but it's like, well, you can't touch him. There's nothing you can do about it. So,
or once he says, you know, not Carl Grissom, I think that's when the gears are turning in his head that, they're finally gonna nab me on this.
But I should note as well that like I've been waiting for like the right moment to bring up, for the right minutes to bring this up. But like we get a good, you know, shot of like the swarm of officers coming in here, and I have to say, like, they look really like the outfits they give them, these long leather coats and the leather caps. It's weird because they kind of the police of Gotham kind of look very like Nazi-esque. In a weird, like, or is that just me? Am I just like, that just looks like a fleet of Nazis have just walked into the building? But
that's like, do you guys still wear that when it's cold out, or do you guys still wear that when it's warm outside, or like during the summer? It's like, I hope that's not your standard issue uniform. But
I thought you were talking to us. So it's like, oh, we don't go around that. Dan, I don't know what you're talking about.
But I do at the weekends.
But like one other thing is that I think in the original like Sam Hamm script, it was like all of Eckhart's men, they were like a SWAT team, basically.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a little bit of a differentiation there. And then like once Gordon came in, he's like, okay, you men are relieved, and now my men are going to take over. So it seems like you know, seems like it was a lot more heavy duty that they were supposed to come in there at first. But then, of course, as we see in the movie, there's no difference between Eckhart's men and the men that Gordon comes in with. So they kind of lost me on that one. But
I think like at the end of like everything, when all the cops are gathered together, Gordon would be like, okay, so which men did I bring and which one did...
right.
Like, I know I got some crooked cops here, but I don't know which one is which. So.
Yeah, I'd love to know the difference. I want to see them in different uniforms, and they could even have their own little showdown. Not a gunfight, obviously. The cops wouldn't be shooting each other, but they could have a little argument over what they're going to do. That'd be cool.
But I think then like Gordon goes into like, again another like perhaps his finest moment of announcing through the megaphone, like, this is Commissioner Gordon. He says specifically, I want him taken alive. I repeat, any man who opens on Jack Napier will answer to me. Now, I'm a proofreader by trade, and I get very pedantic about things. He's not repeating himself. He didn't say the same thing twice. He says, I want him taken alive, and then I repeat, any man who opens the... You didn't say that first. Like, it's the same kind of thing. I get what you're saying, but, I mean, technically, you're not repeating yourself, Gordon.
That is very technical and nitpicky, isn't it?
That is my livelihood, is just going, well... Like, I'll send people back their essays, and like, I would guarantee if they wanted to give me face-to-face feedback, I'd be like, oh, well, that's very pedantic. And I'd be like, that's what's paying my bills, man. So
they should have sent you the script, basically, is what you're saying.
And then I did an uncredited rewrite at age 2 on this film. And then that one line slipped through.
Yeah, it's just so yeah. You haven't lived until you've actually been given a megaphone and you scream that through it, which I did do. I believe when I was in high school, I saw one lying on the floor for some reason, and I just felt inclined to just pick it up and shout that. Hopefully, everybody else around the school wasn't like, Commissioner who? What's going on in here?
Evacuate the building.
Yeah. Oh no. But you don't think about that when you're a sophomore in high school.
Oh, no. That's the last thing you care about. Well, I love what Eckhart does here, though. The way he sneaks off. It's like a very comedy moment. The way he creeps away from Gordon. It's the look on his face. He's like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
I think this now is like the beginning of, again, Gordon's back to square one. Because now, like, Eckhart slinks away very easily. And then he looks around and he just has a kind of baffled, like, what? Where'd he go?
Like he was going to hand it back to him, too. Yeah. It's like, here you go. Oh, it's just, you're not there anymore. Where'd you go?
That's kind of like, he could only really have turned one of two corners. And he's not like a svelte kind of fella. I'm pretty sure I could catch up to him.
He decided it was time to make like a banana and split.
I think that's what I'm trying to think, actually, because... Like, this is the beginning of one of the mysteries of the film, is that, well, where does Eckhart go? And, like, because we see him later on, and he just seems to be kind of milling around. But I did note that this is straight after, like, like Gordon saying, nobody kills Jack Napier. And then I have a feeling, because the whole reason that Grissom got Eckhart is because he knows that Eckhart doesn't like Jack Napier, and that he will get him to kill him as a kind of little favor for him. So I think what Eckhart's doing there is like, I'm not missing my chance to kill this guy. I'm going to slip off now. And then if he shows up dead, hey, how are you going to prove it was me? That kind of thing.
Okay, I hadn't thought of that. See, I was wondering where he was going as well.
Yeah, like, how come this bullet matches with your gun? And it's missing
They'll just brush that under the rug.
Oh, well. Yeah, he's a crooked cop. Oh, you don't want to know how many people we've killed right here.
Well, what is his plan, though? Where is he going to hide exactly? I don't think the crooks are going to take him in, are they? They'd just kill him. So what's he doing?
I think like if he's just genuine, because it's a big, like, they came in through a big open door. Like, if you wanted to get out of there, if you're just like, well, I'm done then. Like, you just go out that door, but he seems to go further into the chemical plant, so...
Yeah, he's looking for that exit that Jack Napier will notice later. He's like, where's that damn exit?
Must be up here somewhere.
But this is now we start getting into... we held off on talking about it last week, because we only really had the exterior of access chemicals. But now we get a proper look around the insides of there. And I know, John, you have like some tidbits, some very like really genuinely pretty like kind of tidbits about where they shot this. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, you both probably know this already, but when being someone who loves the movie but has never researched the movie, this blew my mind, to be honest. Because they filmed it at Acton Lane Power Station, which is near Wembley in London. And that was also used, although it looked very different, it was also used in Aliens, which is the interior of the Hadley's Hope processing plant. So it's where Ripley's running around. I think it's when she's looking for Newt. Yeah.
Actually, last night I did, so it's like, better... Like it was like, this is really interesting. I'll try to see if I can match where in Aliens this is in the chemical plant, and I think like we'll talk about it. It's in the next minute. There's a flight of stairs, which I think is like that's the one. Yeah, but
I think it's that staircase we're about to see, so we'll save that.
Put it in your pocket and save it for later.
But I did notice as well that like I thought it was. Because like Acton, the station, it was when the folks of Aliens got there, like it was out of commission already, like it was an abandoned building, and they had to. I think said it was commissioned in 1899, closed in 1983, and then they came in and renovated it, but apparently, like it was so severely covered in. Asbestos that like they had to actually like go in and get the entire plant scrubbed out, And then by the time it was done, though, they said that the conditions were better than it was in Pinewood Studios, where they were actually shooting. So
it's much safer to shoot at the plant.
But have you ever noticed this before, Dan? Did you ever, like, throughout Aliens, you're like, I know what that is?
Yeah, I think I remember. I think that was probably one of like the first things, like when I went to the IMDb trivia page, however many years ago that was, and they said that, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then, but since Aliens shot so closely and everything, it's like you can't really tell in a couple spots. But yeah, like you said, in the upcoming minutes, like there's a couple of spots where you could notice like, oh, that's the same like handrail and everything, but of course they kind of hide it pretty good because throughout the movie you always see all the smoke and everything billowing, pretty much to cover stuff up. And I always was wondering, hey, I wonder if beyond that smoke that's like where all the alien eggs are and everything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be something like Jack Napier just ran through like a wall of all that sticky stuff, like the cocoon people in. He's just like, what the hell is that?
Now that is a crossover I want to see.
Yes.
Someone needs to make a comic book of this. They probably already have.
Tim Burton would be behind it. He's like, oh yeah, that fits with what I'm going for.
Well, I'd rather watch that than yet another Ridley Scott Alien entry. So Tim, get on that.
This is John's succinct review of Alien Covenant right there. So.
Yep, that's all you need to know.
I'll do the fingering.
Well, I love this.
Sorry, that's all I can think about with that movie.
I think that will be the legacy of the film. It's going to be like Alien Covenant. What? Oh yeah, the finger, the movie with the fingering line. Yeah.
Everyone in the audience, every single person in the audience, except for me, burst out laughing when that happened, and I was like, "Oh, I quite like that line. That was quite nice."
It's just so like I did not expect that to come.
In this minute, anyway, I love that we cut to Napier panicking, and he's pulling all these levers, spinning valves. And my question was, does he have a specific plan to like make the plant blow? Or is he just panicking and going, if I mess all this stuff up, something will happen to distract the cops?
I would say it's chaotic. Like he is just like, I'm just going to do whatever, and then hopefully things will blow up, and I'll be okay. But it'll slow these guys down. Like I'm assuming, like I don't. Although we do know that he has an aptitude for like chemistry and stuff. That's not to say that he's going to know exactly what all these big machines do. But like, he might be.
Well, that's the thing. I wouldn't expect him to know. I mean, he's just a gangster. He doesn't know all about this, how this works. But he does. If you watch, I'm looking at it now. He seems to have a pattern to it. That could just be the actor, of course, going, "Oh, I go here, then I go there."
It could be that, like, because he knows a bit about chemistry, like, he may know what these chemicals are. He's like, well, if I overheat this, then that will blow that. You know, that kind of thing. Like, you know, maybe. But I think it might have, like, I would be willing to bet it was just like, I'll just pull whatever. And then it seems to, from the sound effects, create some kind of mini typhoon. Like, the wind sounds insane in there. Like, it's like, how did you do that?
Yeah, what on earth is happening? Actually, you can't really tell, can you? In this minute, anyway.
Well, I always kind of thought that. Like when he is like turning all those valves and mixing up everything, it's like you notice that there is one bit where there's like looks like something's leaking out of something. I was always almost thinking like, he's like starting all the chemicals that are gonna create ultimately that green bath that he's gonna dive into.
Well, I think that would have worked actually as a thing if they had emphasized that more. Like that actually would have been like, oh, he is the making of his own undoing, essentially. Right. If it was him who was the one who actually created the specific mixture of chemicals that, you know, ends up spoilers creating the Joker. So.
Well, I thought that's what it was.
I guess when you're a super fan like me, you just fill in all these details like that, and then that's how you make sense of things.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought it was. I thought he was creating that sort of chemical bath, if we want to call it that. But yeah, it doesn't really emphasize it. You're right. It doesn't make a point of that at all.
Yeah.
Too bad that piece of
shame.
Too bad that piece of paper that was the big printout that was coming out was like unstable mixture. Do not dive in. May cause irreversible skin damage. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Gotta go.
Well, I love this set, though, because to me, it reminded me, I might just be weird, but it reminded me of Dr. Frankenstein's lab from the old movies.
Oh, yeah.
Which could be deliberate, because, well, Tim Burton obviously likes that. And also, tying into what we were just saying, this is the creation of a certain character that is happening here. So I thought it was definitely reminiscent of it.
Yeah.
Could be a coincidence.
Yeah, especially with all the sparks and everything going.
Well, it actually really specifically reminded me of, like that's almost definitely like what John was saying is probably what partially what Tim Burton's intention was. But it really specifically reminded me of the ending of White Heat, the old James Cagney film.
Oh, yeah.
Because that actually ends with like a shootout between Cagney and the cops in a chemical plant that's a bit similar to this. And because of it, they're all in the pinstripe suits and the hats and stuff. Like it has a very noirish quality to it. But like I can imagine it probably is the melding of two, because it's Sam Hamm's script. But then through Tim Burton, so Sam Hamm might have been like, oh yeah, it's like this is going to be like White Heat. But then Tim Burton's a bit more like, well, I'm interpreting it more from a mad scientist labs kind of perspective. And it could be it's just a nice marriage between those two pieces of material. So
yeah, it's probably a bit of both there, definitely.
And I think there's a little bit of Fritz Lang's M in there as well. Or is it the Thin Man? And then the Thin Man as well, because Orson Welles' character is supposed to be a little bit like Napier there.
I know, because we talked about A Touch of Evil as well, because
definitely
saying that
Orson Welles is all over this movie, because you did hear about like that fake story of how somebody tried to say like, oh, back in the 40s, Orson Welles tried to make a Batman movie, but then somebody pretty much said, that's debunked because the Riddler wasn't created at that time. But yeah, like somebody was like honestly trying to fool people into that.
That would have been amazing. That would be great.
But highly improbable at that time.
But I do have a little bit here, though. I'm not too sure whether to bring this up this minute or leave it to later. But because we do have like just the legacy of Access Chemicals, the specific the name Access Chemicals, rather, because I'm sure, like, Dan, you probably know, and I'm sure a lot of people listening know that in the comics it's actually called Ace Chemicals.
Right.
But and we're not gonna get into that, because that's the keg we need to tap next week about Ace, like where Ace Chemicals features and the various stories that it's been in and stuff. But there is a lasting legacy of like, I don't know, Dan, do you have any idea? Because I tried looking up a specific reason they changed it to Access Chemicals. So, but I couldn't find anything. So,
I think because it wasn't in the first draft. Didn't Sam specifically write Ace Chemicals? I think he did, so at first they were being pretty comic accurate, and then next thing you know, it's Axis. So that. I guess later, it's not as impressive to have Ace behind Batman when he's looking later on or something. But if it's Axis, it's like, that makes, all the people who want to look into this interpret, Axis does that have to deal with the Axis powers and how that's oppression and that looks good. But I'm just like, God, it's just for a second of film, but maybe, that would be a great question to ask. Yeah. Ask whoever came up with that one, because it is like, No,
that's great. I hadn't considered the connection there in the name between the chemical plant and the Axis powers. That's fantastic.
That was the first thing I would have thought, but hey.
But Access Chemicals as a name, though, does have a legacy that goes slightly beyond the film, because then straight out, I think it was straight after Batman Returns was when they started airing the Batman animated series. Oh, and that's the thing, because within the animated series, they weren't it wasn't a continuation of the films, but it was supposed to be patterned after it. So within that, like in the episodes Dreams in Darkness and Joker's Wild, they refer to the Joker as being Jack Napier. That's put down in there, in their reality, he was Jack Napier. But and then the episodes, what are they? Nothing to Fear and Batgirl Returns, they specifically mention Access chemicals. Was just like, oh, so that's all tied in. But then, as they went on, and around at the end of Series 3, there was a big retooling where when they came back, the Batman animated series, they came back as the New Batman Adventures.
Yes.
And within that, like, they redesigned a lot of things, like a lot of it for the worse, actually. And, there's a bit of a creative upheaval and stuff. But then within that, in a weird way, because they reference in the New Batman Adventures, and within the episode Beware the Creeper, they go to Ace Chemicals. And within that, they at the beginning of that episode, there's a whole big thing about, oh, well, this is where the Joker was made, and then they have a TV documentary going on about, well, he was once an unknown hood for the Valestra, mob, connections and all this.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, well, I thought it was Jack Napier. Like, what happened there? Like, and it seems to be like they just, it must have been like it was so far in, they're like, we're not beholden to the Burton verse anymore.
Yeah,
so we're going to,
who cares?
Yeah.
Change what we want.
And even though they mentioning the Valestra thing, 'cause that's a thing from Mask of the Phantasm, which is within the realms of before the redesign, which is in the Batman animated series, era. So this is a direct continuation of that show where everything's redesigned, but they're retconned the Joker's origin, kinda. So but then that seems to be like that's the end of Axis Chemicals. It's never brought up in that show again, anyway. So,
well, it better come back. We miss it. We need it back in the franchise. Well, now in the actual scene, there's not much left, but we cut to the police and the crooks having what I can only describe as the most static shootout of all time, because they don't look like they're too far away from each other,
right.
But nobody's taking a bullet. They're just standing, shooting. Nobody's getting hit, and there's comedy bullet ricochet noises.
Oh, I love those noises. Love them. I love that. Yeah, because it's like every gun in the scene gun sound effect is Dirty Harry's Magnum gun, and I'm like, oh yes, I love that sound. Just play it over and over. I'm like, that's what a gun should sound like.
But yeah, that is pretty much like all it is, and like at least in terms of today, I think that's all the action we have, isn't it? So.
Yeah, I haven't got any more notes on the action. I had one brief note about Pat Hingle that I don't think we brought up in the past.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'll say if we did, we'll just edit this out. It's fine. Because obviously, because Pat Hingle, Gordon in the original film series here, he had much of his left little finger missing. Which I didn't actually notice at all until I was researching, and it was from a real life injury where he fell down a 50-foot elevator shaft.
Ooh.
And ended up crushing his finger and having to have it removed. That's so I'm keeping an eye out now to try and spot this, but I think he hides it quite well.
That guy, he's like the luckiest man. Like, you survived falling 50 feet in an elevator shaft, and all that happened was that you lost a bit of your finger.
Well, he might have broken more bones. I'm not sure. It didn't specify. But
They just walked out with like one broken finger. It's like, I don't need it. Take it off. I don't even need it anymore.
He bit it off and spat it to the ground.
Oh. Well, it's a good thing he didn't land on bullets because, if you see Mystery Men, you know how that's kind of an improbable death. But yes, thank God he made it. That's all I could say.
That's it. Although, as well, me and John are actually there may be a Mystery Men Minutes podcast coming up that we should give a shout out to, and we may be featuring at some point. So we'll just leave that little teaser there. So,
so is that everyone's notes for this minute?
Yep, that's me. That's in terms of actual content, but. I don't do shit, because we probably ask Dan about your history with the film and stuff, but I don't know if you want to do that this episode or leave it to the next one or.
I guess we could save it when our actual title character actually shows up. So that'd be a good tease because to me this is almost kind of a tease for the next one, because I'm like, oh man, you're talking about my big my favorite bat entrance, I guess you could say, in the movie. And that'll be a good tease for next time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it till next time then.
Okay. Yeah. We'll wrap it up here then for this Monday show. So make sure to listen again on Wednesday, where we will have minute 26 of Batman. And send us a message on Facebook at the Batminute 89 Listeners Society, or you can tweet us at Batminute 89. Also, check us out on Instagram and Tumblr. If you really want to use Tumblr, go ahead. Feel free. And rate and review us on iTunes. So yes, join us again on Wednesday.
Next time, battling beat cops and dangling delinquents. As chemical concoctions continue to cascade onto the concrete, a caped crusader collides with two confounded crooks. But will one of them want to hang out with the Batman? Find out next time. Same Bat Pod.
Different Bat Minute.